Hey guys, what's up? Madseason here, and welcome to part 2 of my Big Gold Guide. In the last video, we discussed optimizing your alts and Garrison missions. If you haven't seen part 1, a lot of what I say in this video may not make sense, so make sure you watch that video before this one. I'll have an annotation right here and a link in the description. This whole series is focused on alts and optimizing them as much as possible to make as much gold as possible. As you can imagine, Garrisons are a perfect fit for this strategy, and in this video, we'll be going over my personal Garrison setup and crafting. This is the setup I've been using since the launch of Warlords of Draenor, and it's aimed to be future-proof for when Legion comes out. Of course, nothing is 100%, but if/when Blizzard decides to nerf Garrisons, this particular setup shouldn't be hit as hard as some other setups. This Garrison setup is also designed around quick gold, and what I mean by that is gold that you can typically make by never leaving your Garrison. Because this strategy focuses on a large number of alts, you need to minimize the amount of time you want to spend on each one, because once you start building a decent army up, you don't want to be spending 4 hours doing your daily stuff, I'm sure. I'll mention it when you can sacrifice more time for gold, but at the end of the day it's all personal preference. My mindset is that if you don't make this whole thing a chore, you'll end up earning more gold in the long run, because if you choose the more time consuming route, you'll get sick of it really fast and you'll just stop doing it. Alright, so at Garrison level 3 you have 2 large plots, 2 medium plots, 3 small plots, a pet menagerie, a mine, and an herb garden. For your first large plot, go with the barracks. A level 3 barracks grants you a +5 bonus to your maximum active followers. Not much to say here, more followers equals more gold basically. For your second large plot, a good choice is the Dwarven Bunker, because you can start work orders that take Garrison resources and award follower upgrade tokens. We'll also be using the trading post, so try not to spend all of your resources here, but this building is really handy if you're just starting out and all of your followers are low eye level. For your first medium plot, you're going to want an inn. We discussed this building a bit in part 1, and this is how you're going to get all of those treasure hunter and scavenger traits. At level 2, you can recruit 1 follower from the inn a week. You can choose any trait or ability for that follower to have, and it'll give you a choice of 1 of 3 followers. Like I said in part 1, you typically get way more gold missions than you do resource missions, so for my setup I go with 18 treasure hunters and 5 scavengers, with the last 2 working profession buildings. When you're recruiting followers, there's some different ways you can choose their counters. Counters are the things like wild aggression, powerful spell, etc. They're abilities that your followers need to be able to complete a mission successfully. A good way to keep track of your counters is with the master plan add-on I mentioned in part 1. When you go to recruit a follower, it'll give you a breakdown of all the counters you currently have. Some counters are more important than others. The thing you gotta realize is that these gold missions don't have random counters. The same missions will appear over and over, and they'll have the same abilities to counter every time. I'll have a link in the description that goes over this in more detail, but here's a breakdown of all the abilities that appear in gold missions. As you can see here, Massive Strike appears the most at 29 missions, and Group Damage appears the least at 16 missions. So try to space out your counters like they appear in this list. Say for example, if you want 6 Massive Strike counters, try to get 3 or 4 Group Damage counters. I could go on and on about optimizing this 100%. There are even forums and such dedicated to that, but for the sake of this guide, I'll just stop here, or else we're going to have to break out the spreadsheets and stuff, and I kind of want to keep this guide a little more on the casual side. If you just got your Garrison to level 3 and you're short on followers, check the description for a guy that picks up some quick followers from questing and such. A level 3 inn also increases the amount of treasure hunter missions you have, which are gold missions, so you want to level it up as soon as possible. For your other medium plot, you're going to want a trading post. Don't level it at all, we only need a level 1 trading post here. What this one does is it gives you a random trader each day who sells trade goods for Garrison resources. This is how we're going to get rid of your excess resources. There are 5 different traders, they each have different rates for different items, and it's random which one will show up each day. The only one we care about is Trader Eula for Alliance and Elder Surehide for Horde, because they have the best rate for Sumptuous Fur, which we'll need a lot of. Now here's one of your time choices. If you want to spend more time and get a little more gold, you can go for a barn here instead of a trading post. With the barn, you can go out into Draenor to trap various creatures for savage blood, and meat, hide, or fur, depending on what you trap. Obviously, if you have a lot of characters, this will be very time consuming, so that's why I don't do it. The gold is pretty significant, but you also have to take into account that you'll no longer have a resource dump from the trading post. Also, the savage bloods you get from the barn will be worthless when the next expansion comes out, since they're used for low eye level Draenor gear. Like I said, I try to set up my garrison to be as future proof as possible, so a barn just wouldn't make sense in the long run. As I said earlier, I really think the less time consuming way is better, because if you're doing barn traps on every character, you're going to get burnt out really fast and probably end up quitting anyways. But it's your choice here. Maybe when you're first starting out and you don't have a lot of alts, the barn might be a more appealing choice. The small plots will have all of our profession stuff. Here's where you have some more choices. For me and my server's economy, for profession buildings I went with the jewel crafting building and the tailoring building. The tailoring building is a good choice because you get to make the 30 slot hexweave bag. Bags in general are good because they almost always sell and they're pretty future proof. Take blacksmith for example. You can only make Draenor level stuff in your garrison, and that'll hardly ever sell once the next expansion hits because everybody will have moved on to Legion level gear. Bags, however, everyone needs them, and this is just speculation, but I think their price will actually rise when the next expansion releases because a lot of people will finally leave their garrisons and stop making them. The supply will drop and therefore the price will raise, or at least stay the same. Obviously this is server dependent, but on my server they sell for around 1,000 gold at the moment. You can make one every 2 or 3 days per character, not including the rush work order items. Make sure you have this building to level 3 and you have a follower assigned to it to maximize its output. The other small profession building I have is jewel crafting, and it's 90% for the daily mission you get if you have a follower assigned to it. Each day you'll get a random mission to either craft something or just turn in 20 true iron or blackrock ore, and you get rewarded with a bag of gold. The gold varies from 100 to 300 depending on the daily. They're all worth doing except the 2 glowing blackrock bands daily. It costs too much ore to do. You would be better off just selling the ore on the auction house rather than doing that particular daily, at least on my server. You can also craft jewelry and gems. I personally don't find these too profitable because they're pretty low eye level, but you will be getting a lot of talidite crystals, so you may as well craft a few items to see if they sell. This is something that will die out with the next expansion, however. For both of these buildings, you want to have work orders always running. For the tailoring building, the work orders need sumptuous fur. You get this either from the auction house or you buy it with the garrison resources at the trading post. Make sure you wait for Trader Eula for Alliance or Elder Surehide for Horde for the best rates. For the jewel crafting building, you need blackrock ore for the work orders. You'll be getting this from your mine or the auction house. These days I don't bother with jewel crafting work orders because I have an excess of talidite crystals, but keeping those going is up to you. Also make sure you have tailoring and jewel crafting as your 2 primary professions. You don't necessarily need them to craft their items with the way the buildings work, but you'll get way more materials if you actually have the profession learned and leveled. You only need level 1 of each profession to craft their main materials, hexweave cloth for tailors, talidite crystals for jewel crafting, and you'll craft more the higher level it is. For levels 1 through 600 you'll craft 8 of their respective material, and from level 600 to 700 you'll craft more and more all the way up to 20 per craft. You can only make hexweave cloth and talidite crystals once a day, make sure you make them. For max level tailors you get 20 hexweave cloth at the cost of 20 sumptuous fur and 10 Gorgon fly trap. You get the fly trap from your herb garden or you can just buy it off the auction house. For jewel crafting, you can make 20 talidite crystals at the cost of 20 blackrock ore and 10 true iron ore at max level. For your third small building, go with the salvage yard and get it up to level 3. What this one does is whenever you complete a garrison mission, you get a chance to get a crate that contains a few items such as bind and equip armor and weapons or Draenor trade goods like fur and ore. This building is really hit or miss. The BOE items can be vendor trash or they can be really rare old transmog items that sell for thousands of gold. For this building you're going to want the auctioneer add-on. What this add-on does is it allows you to scan your auction house and record the prices of every item on it. This allows you to quickly determine if an item is valuable or not, and it also has some other tools that make buying and selling auctions faster and easier. Because you don't want to look up every item you get, make sure you have the auctioneer add-on installed and make sure you scan your auction house regularly to get everything logged. This way you can just simply mouse over the item to see if it's worth selling or not. I won't give any estimations on gold here because it's heavily server dependent, and it's up to you to decide on what you want to keep or not. I will say that although these items do sell, sometimes it can take months. These old transmog or twink items are really niche, and there's not really a lot of people looking to buy them. As you can see here, my Action House character has over 100 expired mails in her mailbox. Like I said, it's a really hit and miss building. Some days I'll log on to thousands of gold of auctions, and other days I'll log on to all expired stuff. So when I decide on what I want to keep, I look at the sell price. The higher the item vendor's for, the higher the cost will be to put it up on the auction house. When you start getting hundreds of these items, just putting them up on the auction house will start to cost a lot of gold, and it'll cost a lot of your time too, since 90% of them will expire. It takes quite a while to put up 100 items even with the auctioneer add-on, so it's another time versus gold choice. My typical cutoff is that it has to sell on the auction house for at least 200 gold, and the vendor price can't be more than 2 gold. I've even held off on opening these boxes for a few months, so as you can see I have thousands of them. And that's it for the customizable buildings. There's still 3 more that I want to talk about, and those are the mines, the herb garden, and the pet menagerie. For the mines, it's another more time equals more gold choice. And here you get primal spirits, blackrock ore, true iron ore, and draenic stones, which you use for work orders to get more ore. You need both blackrock ore and true iron ore for your jewel crafting building, so if you want to sustain that without having to visit the auction house, it's a good idea to max out the mines. If you level the mine up to level 3 and assign a follower to it, you do get a significant amount of ore. Also, to speed it up a bit, you're going to want to pick up an item called the Peon's Mining Pick. This makes you mine veins really quickly, and it stacks with the Preserved Mining Pick, which you get from your mining carts. I'll have a link in the description if you need more information about that. I personally stopped doing this when I really started to get a lot of alts leveled because it started to take a long time to go through it on every character. These days I just purchase the ore off the auction house, but it's completely up to you. Keep in mind, if you do decide to work your mines, make sure you have a follower assigned to it, because you'll get more ore out of the work orders. Same sort of deal with the herb garden. You'll mainly need Gorgrunt Flytrap for your daily hexweave cloth craft. You'll also need some other various herbs for your daily jewel crafting quests. This is another more time equals more gold choice. I personally just use the auction house for my herbs, since doing this on multiple characters can take quite a while. But it's up to you. You do get quite a few herbs if you level this building up to level 3. Make sure you have a follower assigned to this one and your work orders running if you do decide to use it. The pet menagerie is also something you may want to level. What this building does is it gives you a daily pet battle to complete, and it rewards you with pet charms at level 1 and 2. At level 3, it rewards you with a cache that has more pet charms and various other goodies that you can use to make gold, such as rare pets. You use these pet charms to buy other pets or leveling items which you can make some gold off of. The only requirement for this building is that you'll need to have a few level 25 pets. Some of the pet dailies it offers can be quite difficult without the right pets, so some people choose to skip this building for that reason. But if you do get invested to it, it's a really good source of gold. Pet battling has always been a great way to make gold in this game, and I'll go into more detail about the menagerie in part 3 of this series. So I guess that's all I have to say for part 2. In this video I gave you my personal Garrison setup, and we talked a little about each building. I gave you some more time equals more gold choices. You don't have to do what I do exactly. Maybe for your servers some professions are better than others, or maybe the ore is really expensive, so working the mines might be a necessity for you rather than a choice, and so on. Pick whatever works for you. Maybe if you only have like 3 alts, going for the more time consuming route isn't such a big deal. But regardless on how you chose to customize your Garrison, I hope you found this video helpful. I'll catch you in part 3 where we'll go over the pet menagerie, guild banks, and I'll give you an example of how I go about my daily business in the Garrison. As always, thanks for watching, good luck, and peace!